go ahead and introduce yourselves, and then you have the floor.
Part two.
Good evening, afternoon. Thank you so much. I am Julie Goodman, President and CEO of the Indie Arts Council.
Hi, I'm Nikki Kirk, the Director of Community Impact and Strategic Investment with the Indie Arts Council.
So thank you all so much for this opportunity. I want to introduce also our Vice President, Kavitha Mahoney, and our Board Chair, Brenda Horn, who's with us this evening. And as you've noted, many of our arts leaders have joined us to show their support. So thank you all for being here as well. So on behalf of our board, our staff, and the arts organizations and artists that we serve, I want to thank you so much for this opportunity and congratulations on this fantastic new facility and for this important and beautiful park. And we, of course, are loving the stage and the dance studio and look forward to opportunities to engage in this
$20
space.
million of tax money.
Congratulations. Acclaimed filmmaker Ken Burns recently delivered an address to the 2024 graduates of Brandeis University, and he concluded his profound words of advice by saying, "Insist that we support science and the arts, especially the arts. They have nothing to do with the actual defense of our country. They just make our country worth defending."
That is the dumbest quote I have heard in a long time. Hey, guess what? These pictures makes this country worth defending. I'm going to give my life for this painting. Are you fucking kidding me? You think that's what it's all about? Okay. Yeah, I can imagine George Washington leading the line. He's like, "We've got to protect this art. That's what this is about." The boys in the trenches in WW2. We got to protect the Van Goghs. It's totally worth it. I will lay my life down on the line. Shut the fuck up.
Thank you for the city's 37 years of continuous annual investment in arts and culture that makes Indianapolis worth defending, building, growing, and growing.
Hey, sorry, son. You have to give your life
so in the spirit of Ken Burns,
for
I want to
this
share
art.
some history as context for today's presentation.
I will gladly give up my child for this picture, this some bullshit painting, some macaroni
We were entrusted
picture.
at that time with a city investment of $1 million to support 40 organizations in producing 200 community events as part of the Pan Am Games. That investment was sustained as the City of Indianapolis Annual Grants Program, a public purpose grant that is part of the park's budget and supports nonprofit arts and cultural organizations in Marion County.
All corrupt.
As the essential engines of our creative economy and major contributors to our quality of life and place. So we are honored to be joined by so many of our arts and board leaders representing our sector today as we share the results of our collective impact in 2024 and urge your consideration of increased support in 2025. These arts leaders represent some of our city's most brilliant cultural innovators and equity champions, including my colleague Nikki, who's going to share some highlights of our 2024 impact.
Thank you. So this year we awarded a record 91 arts and cultural organizations, which is more than a 100% increase since 2015, when we launched our equity-centered criteria with just 45 organizations. We have shifted to a 3-year award structure with funding contracts in place for 24 through 26, contingent on equal or expanded funding from the city. These multi-year contracts allow grantees to know that there is a commitment to their financial support and sustainability. It also expands their capacity by decreasing administration costs and annual grant writing load. We have shifted the award minimums and maximums to increase funding to our small organizations. We have also increased eligibility requirements for organizations with more resources to reflect higher expectations for how to utilize these valued public funds to deliver meaningful community impact.
Look at this one. She's tweaking out right now.
This is a brief reflection of the Arts Council's equity journey starting in 2016 with major shifts in allocation supporting 49 grantees. We evolved our equity focus again in 2019, which informed positive results throughout the pandemic grant cycles. And in 2024, we're supporting 91 organizations and significantly increasing funding allocations for people of color-centered organizations. These BIPOC-led and serving organizations were awarded a total of $300,000 this year, up from $88,000 in 2020. This is a significant and meaningful expansion of support since we implemented the racial equity criteria in 2021. From just last year...
What she's saying is, sorry, white people, you're not getting any of that grant money. It's only going to the BIPOCs.
The average award size for BIPOC organizations increased 79% from
What I just
$12,000
say?
to
What I just say?
$21,500. We also analyzed collective data to measure DEI progress across our sector. In many ways, the annual grants program has become a cohort and community for shared learning and accountability. We are leveraging this public investment to collectively advance year-over-year increases in audience, board, and workforce diversity. We have seen large shifts in racial diversity of grantee organizations, boards, and workforce approaching our goal of 49%, consistent with the latest census data. Audience numbers have fluctuated due to pandemic restrictions and trends, but also show positive trends.
Who was the last city to open up? Spoiler alert, Indy.
In 2023, we received a 15% increase supported by the Parks budget and CIB to a total of $1.55 million. That allowed us to grow the average grant to the smallest organizations from $4,500 to $7,000.
Hang on real quick.
Yeah.
I just want to interrupt you. I apologize for that,
No.
but I think this is a point that needs to be made to my colleagues. So as you just heard from Ms. Goodman say, in 1987, they were allocated $1 million 37 years ago. In 2023, we gave them $1.5 million. Let that sit on this for a little bit.
Yeah. Because people didn't care that much about art, maybe? So you didn't need to keep giving them money? Maybe that's what's going on?
But yeah, we'll go into that. Paint a little picture for you. The grant sizes. So last year we did receive an increase by 15%, and that was a good substantial increase, which allowed us to increase the average grant size to our small organizations from $4,500 to $7,000. These are all general operating support grants, so it's a significant impact to our organizations. General operating funds are hard to come by. Last year alone, 72% received an increase in funding. This year, only 40% received an increase, while 36% received a decrease in their grant awards. The contrast you see illuminates the strain on the current funding pool as we continue to expand access to more organizations, reflecting the growth of our sector.
So thank you for that reflection, Councilor Evans. So that's the good news. In our 37th year, we have 37 organizations receiving increases. However, as Nikki shared, we also have 33 organizations experiencing decreases due to flat funding and increased participation and inclusive access to the program, which is an important part of this program and our equity priorities. So it's helpful to take a look back as we look ahead to 2025, marking the 38th year of our partnership. So this chart shows a 19-year view of the program funding. So as you noted, we started with $1 million in 1987, and we administered $1.3 million of Parks allocated funding this year, and then that was supplemented with some CIB funding. This chart shows the CIB, or the City and Parks funding is in blue. The CIB Capital Improvement Board funding is in yellow, and ARPA and CARES Act funding during the pandemic is in pink. And that represented over $3 million in city support for relief and reopen and recovery support. And we attribute much of the current cultural renaissance that we've been experiencing the past few years and the growth in our creative economy to...
Let's look at that real quick before we continue. We can see that half their budget was from ARPA dollars. And where do you think they got those ARPA dollars from? Do you think that they were holding it in some kind of honeypot? Do you think they were like Scrooge McDuck where they had all these gold coins and you can just do a dive right into it? No, it was printed out of nowhere and put into the currency, it's put into the system. And then what happened not long after that? Everything started getting really freaking expensive because for those who don't know, when you have a lot of something, the value goes down. So if she wants to brag about a cultural renaissance and how great art is, well, I'm glad that you're okay with paying $5 a gallon for gas and $5 for eggs. Hey, but you know what? Good thing for that cultural renaissance, huh?
In city support for relief and reopening recovery support. And we attribute much of the current cultural renaissance that we've been experiencing the past few years and the growth in our creative economy to the level of public and private support that we received during the pandemic. And that is important to recognize and to say thank you. We are here today.
Thank you, taxpayers. Thank you for sacrificing everything while billionaires, nonprofits all make a bunch of money.
In this conversation because of the way the city and the community showed up during that time.
Showed up? What the hell are you talking about? Indianapolis was the last city in Indiana to open up by a week or two. When Holcomb reopened everything, lifted all restrictions, Hogsett was like, nope, we're going to hold on. We were like, hold! Nope, we need to destroy Indianapolis just a little bit more. Listen, Hogsett's in there and he's having a little bit of whiskey. And then what is he? He's gooning to the thought of making everybody suffer a little bit more in Indianapolis. And you have Jesse Brown who wanted China-style lockdowns. That's right. He wanted everybody locked down. They wanted their doors welded shut and you had to take a test every day that who knows if it's reliable or not. Your animals, sorry, they're going to have to get bagged up and they're going to have to get bludgeoned to death or thrown into a fire or may not have COVID. That's who you voted for, and that's who these people will continue to vote for, these monsters that do not give a shit about you.
The $1.3 million for granted. We do not take 37 years of continuous support for granted. That is extraordinary, and we appreciate and value that. But we are a growing sector. We're going to talk about the impact of our sector.
Corruption.
And in 2025, we are recommending an investment of $3 million, which would restore us back to 2005 levels of funding 20 years later. So we appreciate what we're asking and the challenges and the many demands, but that would get us back to 2005 levels of funding, it'll be more than 100 organizations by next year. So this increase would enable us to continue to expand access while increasing and stabilizing this essential operating support for our current participants. It would also create a new project pool of funding that would support arts and culture programming directly in Indy parks and public spaces in Marion County. We are often with you in this conversation and often asked what percentage of this funding is going directly to support arts and culture in the parks. And we have many of our grantees are engaged with the parks and partnerships, and there is programming, but this would be a dedicated pool that would allow us to collaborate with Indy Parks.
It's a park, man. It's where my dog goes to shit. It's where junkies go to sleep and do drugs. Like, it's a fucking park, bro. Nobody cares. Nobody goes to the park and we're like, oh boy, I can't wait till I see that new age bullshit that cost me $20 million.
To really bring that activation forward.
There are different areas for arts, man.
And programming in our public spaces.
Oh, speaking of though, I was at Newfields the other day, right? And I can't believe how much white supremacy and Nazi stuff they have there. I mean, I was just blown away when I saw this statue that had the OK symbol. And for those who don't know, that's the symbol of white supremacy. I'm not going to show you because they're just going to clip it. And they're like, oh, this guy's a white supremacist. So that's what it looks like. And then what do we have here? We have an angel doing the Roman salute. But then the Nazis used all of it to give their Führer a hello. And there's a bench right in front of it so you can look at it directly. I think it's like maybe 10 feet away from it's not a painting, it's glass. And I couldn't believe it. There was nobody there, of course, because it was like at the end of the day. But I couldn't believe that Newfields has all this white supremacy and Nazi art. Only high IQ people understand what I'm doing. The low IQ people, well, you know who you are.
Impact study released last fall confirms that the city receives a 402% annual return on its current $1.3 million investment.
That sounds like bullshit.
Specifically, the grantees in this program generate $524 million in direct economic impact in Marion County every year, serving 6.5 million residents and visitors and supporting 7,500 jobs.
What the fuck are you talking about? Show me the data on that. I want to see the data on that.
So just as context, this year's Olympic swimming trials and the NBA All-Star Game combined will generate $450 million in economic impact, serving 440,000 visitors and fans. Now, obviously, our big events are critical to our economy, and we appreciate and value our sports and arts partnerships. It goes back to our origin story. Sports and arts is a part of our DNA, and we work really well together. But our nonprofit arts and culture sector generates greater economic impact and serves our residents every day. We're here every day.
Really?
So if we
That's your
collectively
argument?
find new ways to invest in our everyday assets, including parks and arts and culture, the way that we invest in events in our community, it will be transformative.
I want to see the data on that. What are you talking about? This art will generate money. For what?
So why now?
Talking about
Increased investment in arts and culture in 2025 reflects the true impact of our sector. It signals civic value that we, as your advocacy agencies and partners, can leverage to increase private funding. And it also helps us bridge to new potential funding models that will be identified in our next strategic plan, which we're currently co-creating with the community. Specifically, we're conducting benchmarking that's going to identify tools that peer cities like Cincinnati, Columbus, Louisville, Nashville, and many others are using to generate, on average, $12 to $15 million in annual investment in arts and culture.
Yeah.
And not all of that, I don't want you to get panic. Not all of that is through the annual budget. It is through a range of tools in the toolkit, and that's what we are going to bring forward as part of our strategic planning process, is what is that range of tools and possibilities for public-private investment in arts and culture. So we're inviting right now.
This is kind of funny. I'd have to go down the rabbit hole on this thing, though. But Cincinnati, the truth, money needed to pay bills, $703 million. Their financial grade is a D. They only have $1 billion of assets available to pay bills totaling $1.7 billion. It is, yeah, this was from 2022. No, 2024. But it's from 2022, that data. Yeah, let's use a bunch of losers to role model off of, huh?
Input from residents, artists, and cultural workers, and we would love for you all to
I think
take the
Indianapolis
survey.
the same,
We
though.
sent an invitation earlier this week, and we'll share it again. But we'd love for you to express your voice as a part of this process, and also please share it with your constituents. So on behalf of the Arts Council, I want to thank you for our 37 years of partnership, for your support
we're
of the
actually
2024
worse.
program, and your consideration
We're like
of
$1
continued
billion.
support and increased support in
We're gonna have to
2025
check
and beyond. And at this time, we have a lot of friends and partners who are here with us that we'll be happy to take any questions, and then happy to turn it back to you and have some comments from the community.
Yeah, let's take some quick questions, and then we will invite some individuals up. I'm more than happy to have open floor and allow them to come say a few words. Julie, I noted in my head over there, I'm no mathematician, but if this $1 billion had just adjusted for inflation, you'd be getting $2.76 million.
We've done that math. That's right.
And I guess my open comment to that on my colleagues is that we just came off of a council meeting where we moved, well, I'll be politically correct and just say mountains, to get a stadium funded in this city. And we worked very hard our state partners worked very hard to come up with a mechanism that will probably generate $12 million worth of revenue for a stadium. And I say this as someone
taxes,
who,
man.
Councilor Carlino and I are from the west side, went to Ben Davis High School. I was a jock athlete, state champion, played football. I love the arts, absolutely love it. In fact, I think there's a pretty big event coming up this Saturday, maybe for the month of Pride. I think it's huge in our city, but I say all this to say, for quality of life issues, you've heard now the gap that we have in funding for our parks. You've now heard what the impact of our arts is for our city. These are quality of life issues, and they are things that we have to try to address. We can't just say, here's 500,000, here's $1 million, here's $2 million. We need strategic conversations and thinking. Our budget conversations are beginning. I'm pretty sure most of you probably received emails to have those conversations. I think if the administration heard from all of us in a similar tone and manner about what our expectations are, we could see bigger changes.
On what? On what? What are you asking for? We need more art for what though? Dude, the roads are shit. People cannot commute to work safely.
So that said, I'll be quiet and allow all of you to say a few words and ask a couple questions, and we'll start with Chairwoman Carlino.
A fiscally, not even a fiscally conservative, but a fiscally conscious person understands that you need to pay your bills off, and then whatever money you might have, you either could put it in the savings for the rainy day fund, or you can go and spend it, but you have to pay the bills first. You have to take care of the core things. The infrastructure and the roads are the most important things. That's how you get more money too. You get better commerce. You get worse problems. I mean, and then everything else is like, oh, cool, we have money for this, neato. I mean, you guys spending money on cleaning up bum poop from the sidewalk, and then you're not taking care of the core issue, which is the bums and the junkies.
Thank you. Julie, talk to me a little bit about CIB.
Have a government of morons, idiots, and drug addicts like Jesse Brown.
From the city and CIB just before funds probably started being spent for the Super Bowl that we hosted. I think the chairman said in 2012. What has changed? I know in talking with some of our partners at the CIB, they really were bracing for the worst in the pandemic, and they were very conservative with their dollars in the past few years. But I don't serve on the Capital Improvement Board. I don't know if anybody here does. But what has precipitated that initial dip in funding? Was it the Super Bowl? Do you recall?
No. So yes, you're right. It has been almost like a match in those early years, and we were as high as about 3.6 million total during that time. In 2005, there was some, or in 2009 and 10, that was the recession. That was due to the recession. There was also an administration change at that time. And so the funding was reduced back to the original million, and we have been at that level until 2019, when Mayor Hogshead recommended the first increase in a decade. We received a $100,000 increase in 2019. We received another $200,000 increase in 23. Thank you to this committee. But those have been the only adjustments that we've received. The CIB has been in at about $250,000, and that funding predominantly supports the second half of the grants for our large anchor institutions in support of their impact on cultural tourism. So that is the rationale for the support today. And I think that is an open conversation with the CIB about what that could look like.
And do those negotiations happen directly with the Arts Council and CIB, or is
related to the annual grants program? That is a conversation that happens directly from the administration and the CIB leadership. But we meet with them just like we're meeting with you to lay out the impact of the program and to express our case.
Well, if you would welcome the incoming chairwoman of the Parks and Rec Committee to sit in with you alongside those meetings, I would love to do that.
Yeah, thank you very much.
I have one question on the Spark on the circle. Is that strictly Big Car that's doing that?
It is Big Car, yeah.
Big
They're,
Car's in my district.
yeah, and they are experts in placemaking and activating public space, and they are just wonderful partners to be doing that work with downtown Indy and the city.
You know, in the city, when they do a new development, the new developers have to set aside 10% for the arts. Do you receive that money?
So
Or is it going to a pot?
Are you referring to the public art for neighborhoods ordinance, the
Right.
percent for art? Yeah. So that is a very specific percent based on very specific TIF incentives.
Yeah.
We had
Not
just done
everyone's
an
in 10%
in-depth
of that.
analysis of that program for DMD, and I'd be happy to forward that report to you all. The result is, so far to date, the program has generated about $2 million in public art investment back into those projects. $200,000 has been put into the pool for public art that goes back into community projects.
That's it?
That's
All the
it.
development?
Now, that does not, I think, reflect the spirit and intent of the ordinance when it was created. It was created to incentivize developers to invest in that pool so that we would have resources to invest in public art and public spaces. It's not saying that the public art in these developer projects is inherently a bad thing, but there isn't criteria around artist selection and what the nature of that public art is. So I'm not sure that the program is accomplishing our collective objectives, and it's certainly not accomplishing our equity objectives. So I think that's where we wanted to bring some learnings forward and share that with DMD and that leadership team, and we'll share that report with you. And I do think, as part of our strategic planning process,
Our
we will
equity
see percent for
objectives.
art and potential modifications to our percent for art program being a potential tool that we have to leverage.
Okay. One other statement. Anyone here do murals? I mean, if you have somebody, raise your hand.
We have some mural artists here. We have organizations that are supporting murals. Yes.
Okay, well, talk to me after the meeting. I have a building in Beech Grove. My art is really 3D. I'm a jeweler, so I can't draw anything. So, but I had a mural put on my building. I have one area I want to try to.
Oh, well, you're
I just had
talking to
to
the
make
right
it
folks. We love to have that
The building's
conversation.
painted, so it's ready. Thank you.
Thank you.
I didn't know we were doing business here.
We're doing business. Thank you for the presentation. Happy to support, and I will, when I set up my budget meeting, 3 million will be on my list, maybe 3.5, we'll see. And I was gonna say, so as an engineer with background, the review of the 10%, it just sounds like this is the point where we have the data, and now we can make another decision to improve, right? So I always look at how can we improve our processes, so it's perfect. But as an engineer, I, last month, spent 10 days abroad with a group of college students teaching an arts class, which you don't normally think to see, together. But one of the conversations we had continuously, especially with college-age students who are engineering focused, they're like, why do I have to do this? And I said, because you won't want to live in a place that doesn't have any of this. Said, you won't want to have a
We already do, man. Everything is minimalism right now. It's just empty cardboard boxes. Everything's square. Do you think if you look back 100 years ago and then you look at crap that's built now, everything basically looks like IKEA? There's no art in anything that you're doing, man.
live somewhere that's boring, that doesn't have arts and culture, that doesn't have opportunity
We
for
already
you, your
live
family,
right
your children,
now.
your visitors.
We already live that way
anybody
right
who
now. What are you
comes,
talking about,
comes in.
Fiona?
So that was just a continuous conversation that I tried to put into the students, as well as getting their brains.
And by the way, that has nothing to do with engineering. You're talking.
The academic side of things, but just that lifelong understanding that like the
You're like
investment
an
that we do now
aqueduct or
invests in not
something.
just those that are sitting right here in front of us, but all of us behind the table and all of our community members. So thank you.
It's the worst.
I may have missed this, but could you provide us with a list of all the organizations that were funded, the amounts? And
Absolutely.
then also if there were a list by district, I think that could be helpful as well.
Yep, we certainly will. We did issue a joint release with the city, so we'll forward that and we'll give you that data segmented as well.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank Thanks so much. This was a great presentation.
This guy is an idiot, by the way.
Yeah, I was not scared by your amount of money. I think that we could be asking for that from our city budget.
Don't forget, he's also a devout communist. He has no full-time job right now. He quit so he could focus on District 13, but in fact, he is flying over to different states. He is spending most of his time supporting Palestine. So when he's talking about, oh, I have no problem giving you this money, well, it's because right now he's getting paid by the taxpayers. This fool has no problem spending everybody else's money because he's a communist, literally.
And that would not be at all inappropriate. I'll negotiate down to $3 million, I guess.
Right, yes, that's what it's about.
Yeah, but totally support you in that, and we'll make that clear in budget conversations. I really appreciate your commitment to diversity and really great numbers in terms of how we're moving the needle, so to speak. One aspect of diversity that is top of mind for me is age diversity as well. So I know from experience that you have a huge amount of people from all age ranges, and that's great. People and organizations focusing on those groups. One thing that strikes me is when we look at the epidemic of gun violence in our city.
God.
Obviously, violence is affecting everybody from every background.
This idiot.
But as a former high school teacher myself, it's a young person's game in a lot of ways.
Don't forget, this is the guy who wants to take away all of your guns. So if you're a woman and you're getting attacked by some rapist, he doesn't give a shit about you. He doesn't think that you should own a gun to be able to defend yourself.
And I think back to the students I taught in high school, and a lot of the same ones who were very interested in the arts, either recording arts, performance arts, all sorts of different visual arts, across the spectrum. The same kids who could not find opportunities to do that semi-professionally or find a future in that were the ones who turned to crime. And so
oh, wait a minute. Hey, I can't draw. Hey, I can't make $100,000 drawing or make a macaroni art. I must go rob and kill. Okay.
The public safety
okay, dummy.
Thing. It's both defending our city and making it worth defending.
This guy, by the way, I'm pretty sure he has said that he's on multiple SSRIs or like a bunch of depression medication. He has said that he has to go to therapy multiple times a week. This is your city councilor getting ready to suck on this microphone right now. He has talked about how much ketamine he takes too.
So I thank you for that, and would just encourage you in the future to continue putting a focus on young people as much as possible. Thanks.
Thank you. Couldn't agree more.
What are you clapping for, you morons?
Are we?
Yeah, you go ahead and bring some folks up.
Open it? Okay. So, we will open it up for remarks. Thank you all. If you're here representing arts and culture, would you just yeah, thank you.
No. Oh, no.
This is just representative of the community and how our sector works together and comes together.
There's no way I'm going through all this.
So we're going to just open the floor and
you only have 2 minutes to speak, my man.
Thank you.
If you would, just make sure you come up and take the mic, because you're going to be on channel 16. So
Watch yourselves tomorrow. Yeah, just let's take a line.
Oh, no. There's no way I'm going to be listening to all this.
Oh, and Julie, correct me if I'm wrong, but that arts program from the tip, it's 1%, correct?
It's 1%, and it's 1% of a very specific incentive.
Yeah. Okay, because I didn't want people to think it was 10%.
Yeah, that's thank you for that.
Miss, go ahead.
Hi, so I'm Julia Whitehead. I'm the founder of the Kurt Vonnegut Museum and Library. So raise your hand if you have a military.
Shut up. I'm not doing this.
Person, by the way, I'm starting off a little on the other side of the fence.
I'm not doing this, by the way. There's no fucking way.
Is necessary for places like murals, installations.
I refuse to do this, by the way. I just don't care. You guys can be mad all you want. There's no way I'm spending the next half an hour listening to like 25 different
Ms.
testimonies.
Goodman, any last comments, thoughts?
Just the artists and the arts leaders in our community, just the impact really speaks for itself. So I'm just so grateful to all of you for being here and sharing your perspective and experience and for the work that you do in our community every single day. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank all of you. This has been really great to see so many here at the facility. That was the intent. Could you imagine if we'd done this at the City County building? It just would have been so dry, a dynamic that. I'm going to be nice. I won't call that building what I think it is, but it's just so nice to be out in the community and the public, and this is what government should be. We shouldn't be centralized in just one location. We should be in the community and have easier access.
Well, then you should have a fucking microphone, man. You should have more than one microphone.
And I'm so thankful that so many of you came out to.
By the way, this is the guy that's blocked me on Facebook, too. Him and Jessica McCormick have blocked me on Facebook.
To share your stories, to learn a little bit from us. And I encourage all of you and your partners and your friends and your allies, reach out to this committee, but reach out to your district counselors. Find out who your state rep is, who your state senator is. Tell them to then put pressure on us. That's how this stuff works sometimes. So thank you all for being here this evening. I believe, are we still doing a tour or are we past? If anybody wants to do a tour, Andre is going to be in the back and he will take you a tour of this beautiful facility. It is now the Hallmark Family Center of the city of Indianapolis. It is the largest one, I believe. So we're ecstatic.
$20 million.
About how this is what we should have in all over the city, not just in the existing facilities, but we should continue to build these in communities that don't have them as well.
Oh, thanks.
So thank you all for being here this
fix my
evening.
roads.
This is going to conclude our committee tonight, everybody. Thank you.
Well, there it is. Awesome. Hey, we cut through a lot of the bullshit because, you know what? If you want to go listen to all the testimonies of that, go for it. I'll put a link on the bottom for you so you can go watch it by yourself. And that's about it. All the new city council meetings will be next week. I'm going to try and do a witty review. There's a few things that I wanted to talk about, things that happened in New York, Victoria Sparks, and then the communist, bad breath, dipshit clown, Jesse Brown. I'm going to talk about him. Hopefully tomorrow I'll be out door knocking and stuff, so we'll see how much time I have left. But until next time.